Hello, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Weeks, and I have been assigned the case study for the Sexual Abuse Task Force. So the case study I will be talking about today comes from the Midwest in a town called Smithville. So just to kind of set the scene for everyone, Smithville consists of more than 300,000 citizens. The majority of the population is Caucasian, and the minority is largely Hispanic. It's a pretty average town with a lot of opportunity for growth. They have several higher education institutions, and they have a pretty much traditional police department who runs like normal operations in the city. They have faced a problem. So the city's sexual abuse crimes and domestic incidents have increased. The forced rapes have increased by 30%, spousal violence by 10%, um, child molestation by 16%, and the arrests for prostitution are the highest that the city has ever seen. So, because of this, some of the women, specifically, and others in the community are kind of becoming very concerned and are banding together and kind of demanding action from the police force. Um, so the chief of police decided to put Lieutenant Driver, decided to task Lieutenant Driver with a sexual abuse task force. Lieutenant Driver has experience in leading individuals and working with a wide variety of people in the community. She has supervised the trainings for her department. She supervised public relations and community relation officers. Because of this, her chief believes that she has what it takes to kind of head this task force. There are also stakeholders in the community who have agreed to be on this task force and kind of help come up with some ideas of what can be done. Others on the team include pastors of different denominations, backgrounds, and their different personalities. One of these pastors, Reverend Sanchez, leads a Hispanic church, and he is super frustrated as others are blaming the uptick in crime on illegal immigrants in the Hispanic population. We also have a superintendent from the school system and a criminologist. And then lastly, we have Bertie Bivens, who is noted to be in attendance at this first meeting. She's a social worker who leads a women's activist group. So with all these individuals, there's a lot of ideas that are being thrown at Lieutenant Driver at this first meeting. Reverend Dickens and Bishop Henry want to raise awareness of who the victims are and try to gather resources for them and potentially even do sermons for the church on the topic. Dr. Evans and Dr. Osborne want to work a program into the school's curriculum and have graduate students do surveys on the students and teachers to kind of get their perception of things and what's going on. And then Birdie's women's activist group has a victim support group, and she believes that allowing them to share their story would be useful. Bivens also notes that she feels like the police do not understand what is really going on and they aren't as connected to all of this as they should be. So, with all of these ideas circulating around, Lieutenant Driver decides to regroup in 2 weeks, and I've been tasked with kind of figuring out what her gameplay should be from here. So before um, we dive into that, her problem is that she must figure out how she can rope all these individuals and ideas together. She is all of these issues are affecting everyone in the community, and some of them it's affecting them differently than others. So her team and task force include a wide variety of individuals representing these different groups in the community. So due to this, their perception of what should be done may clash. Lieutenant Driver needs to figure out how to encourage everyone to be open-minded, work together, and find solutions that would benefit everyone. Lieutenant Driver must also find a way to convince her fellow officers who are already, stressed out and overworked that this task force is worth the time and work that it may take from them. So before we get into some of these ideas for her, I want to focus on the skills approach presented in chapter 3 of our textbook. This approach focuses less on the traits or personality of an individual and more on their skill set, capabilities, and knowledge. So the first kind of idea we get of this is Katz in 1955. He highlights that This is less about who an individual is, but what that individual is able to accomplish. The first set of skills, he discusses are technical skills. These skills include competencies in specialized areas, the ability to be hands-on in a specific process or organization. Um, so this is more so like if you were to create a product for a company, knowing how to do that. Those are the things. It's also noted that these skills are more geared towards the lower and middle level of the workforce and less towards that upper management who are not doing as much of the hands-on task. We then have human skills. This is the ability to work with people and get them to work together by assisting them and listening to each other. It also includes creating a space that is comfortable and safe for those working in it. Last, we have conceptual skills, and this is the ability to just take the goals that have been set and put them into words and action. And it allows you to create a plan, strategy to go forward. The skills approach also notes 4 individual attributes needed by a leader. So the first is general cognitive ability, and that's just their like base intelligence. The next is crystallized cognitive ability. This is things that are like learned over time. Then we have motivation or willingness to lead or solve a problem, and then their personality. A leader must also have these 3 competencies: problem solving skills, social judgment skills, or the ability to understand people in groups, and then knowledge of the organization or the problem itself. The skills approach also highlights that it is okay if one person does not possess all of these skills, and a true leader kind of leans on other people's skills and make sure that those are utilized as well. For example, while upper management may not possess those technical skills, they likely possess the conceptual skills, while lower management or the workforce may not possess conceptual skills, but they have the technical skills. So using both of those together to kind of get the job done. So how can Lieutenant Driver use the skills approach method to learn how to lead this task force? The book suggests that in order to apply this, you should find your own strengths and weaknesses. You can do this with a skills inventory test, and you can also lean on the skills of others in your organization or on your team to pick up when you may fall short. So Lieutenant Driver has some strengths and some weaknesses. She has a lot of experience in leading and training others and working with the community and the different. However, she has not worked in some kind of likely more out of touch with these crimes and the effects and the victims of them as some of the others might be on the team. So before the second meeting, I believe that Lieutenant Driver should first meet with the officers that may feel that this is not worthwhile. I believe that in order to be effective, the team must feel like they have the support of law enforcement on their side. So she should highlight the crime rates and the victims and allow the officers to explain how they feel and express concerns or reservations they have. She can then use her human skills to empathize with them and explain the importance of this force. Next, I believe that Lieutenant Driver and any other officers who may not be convinced should go to a victim support group offered by Bivens, one of the stakeholders, and truly sit down and learn what these victims have gone through, see if there's any connections that they can make between the crimes and things like that. This would increase their knowledge and social judgment skills and could also really boost that motivation that's needed by leaders and her fellow officers. Next, Lieutenant Driver should call the stakeholders individually and see what each of them have to offer. They likely have more technical skills, and doing this can increase Lieutenant Driver's knowledge and allow her to use her problem-solving skills and conceptual skills. This can also allow Lieutenant Driver to plan out what each individual's role should be within the task force before she goes into that second meeting. So if there are problems within the group, whether it be at the second meeting or later on, I believe that all the stakeholders should have a chance to explain their experience with these crimes and how they believe they can help. I believe that they could also take a skills inventory test if needed, just so everyone in the group is aware of what each person has to offer and their own strengths and weaknesses. And then next, I believe that Lieutenant Driver should decide how to team up these stakeholders to highlight their strengths and what they have to offer. So if one individual has those technical skills but not the human skills, they could pair them up with someone who could kind of bridge that gap if needed. So in order to be successful, I believe that the task force should allow each person to focus on their skills and use use them to produce a plan. So just to kind of go through what that could look like, Reverend Dickens, Bishop Henry, and Father Dominique have human skills that should be utilized. They also have a platform to spread awareness of what is going on and provide that support to those in need of it. Reverend Sanchez also has knowledge of the individuals being blamed for some of these crimes. He likely has social judgment skills, as he may know some of them on a personal level, and he must utilize his human skills and platform to ensure that his community is also heard. Dr. Evans has a unique platform that would allow him to utilize crystallized cognitive ability and human skills to take his experience and his role to teach the children and these parents how to keep themselves safe. He has also likely utilized conceptual skills in the past to administer different programs into the school. So I believe that he could do that to kind of get this out to the kids and their families and let them know like how to keep themselves safe. Dr. Osborne has several skills and a large group of students that could be utilized, and they could be used to survey the community and use their technical skills to learn the root of the crime. As they're studying criminology, they likely have a good knowledge of like criminological theory and research and things like that. And then Birdie Bivens has a direct linkage to these victims, so she could utilize her knowledge and human skills to gather these victims and encourage them to support each other and share their story to whoever will listen. Whether this be to, again, try to find some of those connections, teach others how to be safe, and then just spread the word of how big of an issue this really is in the community right now. So, again, I just think that utilizing that skills approach that is taught could really help Lieutenant Driver figure out which each person could do within the group and what they could offer, and then also just allow her to successfully lead the group. So, thank you.